Talk with the Cowboy.
Welcome and thanks for riding with the Cowboy. A lot of information tonight's show, so we'll get started with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers OTAs. They just finished up the OTAs over in Tampa. All the players were out there participating in the OTAs. A few had some nagging injuries and didn't participate in all the days of it, but our quarterbacks Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield and Wolford went out and participated in it. Most of our receivers participated in it. Chris Godwin participated in it. Mike Evans was a little banged up. He didn't. He went out to a couple of the practices. All the team got together. It's off to training before training camp exercises where they go out with the new rookies and get them out there and run a few plays. Not really physical, a lot of physicality, but get in formations, run a few formations, throw the ball, look at some schemes on defense. It's a time when the rookies and the veterans and the unrestricted free agents can get together and go out there and get together before training camp. Baker Mayfield has all good days out there. He looked pretty crisp and sharp, and so did Kyle Trask. They all made a few passes, and they had a few that they overthrew and underthrew, but they got out there with the team. They were in command of the offense as far as getting out there and calling out the signals and having the center snap the ball. Preliminary things, but the OTAs did take place, and the Buccaneers were very happy with what they saw. They didn't have full contact. They had the new defensive ends, Yaya, and then they had the Ramirez, and of course then they had their stalwarts like Vita Vea and Greg Gaines and some of the other defensive linemen out there. Their offensive linemen, got in position. Tristan Wirfs out at left tackle, and not really a physicality type deal, but kind of what we call pajama football / a little bit with the pads on, type of non-serious contact drills, stand up, touch the other one's shoulders type drills, a couple pass routes. So the offense had an opportunity to get out there and get a little bit of time with each other, familiarize themselves with each other prior to breaking from it, which they have now, and preparing to go on and play into the regular season next year and training camp coming in July. And the shooting of this show tomorrow is 1st of June, so it's not too long off till they'll be in training camp. And now, between now and training camp, they'll all go home and rest, because when they come back next time, it'll be time to get started in training camp, to preseason, to regular season, and push forward. So the Buccaneers had that OTA. It was successful. There wasn't anybody seriously injured in it, and hopefully everybody came away a little bit better understanding. And what the reports were from there, that's exactly what took place. So the Buccaneers had a good OTA, and it's done. Most all the other teams have done with their OTAs. So they're all doing about the same thing now, going back and preparing for training camp. The coaches can get some tapes. Coaches can get some ideas of what players can do what, this and that and the other, a little bit. Not the great size, but a sample size. And that's basically why they do it, and they have done it. So that's what's going on over at One Buccaneer Place. Other news in the NFL is about the same as that all the way around. Nothing earth-shattering happening in the NFL other than the OTAs are completing, and they're getting prepared for training camp in July. Now we're going to move on to the Tampa Bay Rays, who won their 40th game today with a 4-3 victory against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. They dropped the first two of the 3-game series. They won today 4-3. They have won 40 games and lost 18, so they're 40-18. They're the only team in baseball with 40 wins, and they lead the MLB with the best record at 40 wins and 18 losses. So the Rays continue to play good ball. They dropped the first two. They dropped one Memorial Day, 1-0, and a great pitching performance by Stroman, the pitcher of the Cubs. And yesterday they lost by 1 point, but they came back and won today with two-run homers and some good defensive play and some good relieving pitching. And they're moving on now for a day off tomorrow on Thursday. And then they'll travel this Friday for a 4-game series with the Boston Red Sox up in Boston at Fenway Park, an American League East competitor, and it'll be a big test for the Rays. They continue to play good baseball. They continue to lead the league in home runs and in RBIs. Their pitching continues to be good. They've lost a few pitchers to some small injuries, 2 to major injuries, but they continue to bring them up from the AAA and out of the bullpen, and they're continuing to win. And that's all we can ask of the Rays at this point. So congratulations to the Rays in their victory today, and we'll keep you posted on the Rays as they continue in this Boston Red Sox series starting Friday night in Fenway. And now we're going to move on to the NASCAR and the race at Charlotte, which was won by Ryan Blaney on Memorial Day. That was the big Memorial Day races. You had the Indianapolis 500 and you had the Coca-Cola 600 there at Charlotte. Ryan Blaney won that race. An exquisite race, had to be run on Monday because of the weather up in Charlotte on Sunday. At the Indianapolis 500, the 107th running, Joseph Newgarden of Penske won that Indianapolis 500. Congratulations to Penske and Joseph Newgarden. It was a 19th victory by Penske at Indianapolis. So it was a big racing weekend, this Memorial Day weekend. And we're looking forward to the road race this weekend in NASCAR. IndyCar will be off for the week. So that's a summation of sports. And now we're going to go to our questions. Okay. Okay. And now we're going to go on to our questions. Alice is from Tampa, and Alice wanted to know what I thought about the Rays and their home runs that they've hit so far this year. And Alice, they've hit 103 home runs as of today with the Cubs. They hit 100 August the 12th of last year. These sinuses. So Alice, they've done real well, 103 home runs this year, and last year they had only hit 100 in August. So they're 2 months ahead of the schedule they were last year. So Alice, they're really hitting that ball, and they're hitting the long ball. It's been good to see, and that's why they've won 40 games. So thank you for your question, Alice. And the next question is from Thad, and Thad wanted to know what I thought about Bartow Yellow Jackets winning the state women's softball championship. Congratulations, Bartow Yellow Jackets, for winning the state championship in women's softball last weekend. Congratulations to you. It was a great victory for the Yellow Jackets over in Bartow, and I think it was wonderful for the Yellow Jackets to get that state title back to Bartow High School. So thank you for your question, Thad. And the last question is from Melissa, and Melissa wanted to know what I thought about Trevor Lawrence this year with the Jaguars. And Melissa, I think Trevor Lawrence will be real well. They won a playoff game last year, like to win the second game in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence played real well. Doug Peterson and the Jaguars really carried the day and really showed everybody what they could do with 1 year under his belt, Doug Peterson. So next year I expect great things out of Trevor Lawrence. Looking forward to the football season so we can get out there and see him play. And thank you for your questions. And God bless you. DJX, what you got for me tonight?
Well, Cowboy, you know how we do it. Let's get right off into it, buddy. All right. Pittsburgh Steelers have third most win in AFC since 2020. What you think about that?
They're a winning program. They continue to be a winning program even when they're in their down years. They're consistent. And you can count on them to win 7, 8, 9, 10 games every year.
Right.
They got a good staff. They got a good coach in Mike Tomlin and great owners in the room.
They do. They do. Why did Jim Brown's status diminish after Hall of Fame's NFL career?
I don't know. Some of his social programs that he wanted back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. I think at the end, Jim Brown was exploited by people around him for money and put him on the path of some programs and ideas that weren't Jim Brown's.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wasn't he in a lot of black exploitation type movies?
Absolutely,
yeah.
100% at the end. Now, right after he left the Browns and went into Hollywood and made the movies, he was great friends with Martin Luther King, and he was big in the civil rights movement, and he initiated with his money and other banks' monies with his name backing them a lot of black businesses throughout the United States, educational scholarships throughout the country, and he sent kids to law school and medical school if they would serve their country when they got out. That's the kind of guy Jim Brown was, and at the end, like DJX said, it wasn't the same Jim Brown.
Right. I agree 100%. All right. List 3 49ers draft picks as the most marketable players from this year's draft.
Marketable players, from this year's draft, I don't know any of them are really that marketable. The two tight ends they picked up and the offensive guard one day, I think he will become a starter up there with the 49ers, but they've got so much talent on that team that they're just their third string player in their depth chart is a first string player on half the teams in the NFL. So how deep could you put them in the NFL? In the 49ers, you got to put them on the bench. Somewhere else, the depth would be a lot higher. I think both their tight ends will come out and be real great. They've got good teachers in the tight end position. One of the best that plays the game is George Kittle, and I'm sure that they'll learn from him. And we'll just have to see how they do, but I'm sure they'll do real well.
All right, let's go to the boards. He's a genius. Nate Herbig heaps praise on Isaac Summerlo. What you think about that?
I think his praises were warranted from the success that he's had and the success he continues to have. He's very, very conscious of others, considerate of others, and I think that'll go a long way and be successful, whether it be sports or life or anything else. I think that's what we said about Jim Brown. Jim Brown back in those days to today, the same here. If he keeps on this same path, that greatness will speak for itself without anybody even having to say it.
Exactly. All right. Lynch, hopefully Purdy is ready for training camp after Brock's first post-surgery throwing session.
Brock did that elbow surgery, he didn't get to play there against the Eagles. And he did get the surgery, and they're not trying to rush him back too fast. He was out at the OTAs. We talked about the Bucs having it, the 49ers did. And Brock was there, threw a few short passes, don't want to mess his arm up. He just got the surgery. And they're hopeful that maybe by training camp he will be ready. Myself, deep down in my heart, it might be the end of training camp. He's probably ready to start training camp. So you're going to have them 3 or 4 weeks, I believe, before the season. We've got to see how he progresses, but you don't want to push him too fast.
All right. Well, Brock Purdy throwing session, incredible, encouraging to John Lynch.
Yeah, the general manager, John Lynch, is very pleased with it, and everyone else is very pleased with it. But, like you said, he just came off that surgery, and they said 8 or 9 months, and it's been 7. So, you got to figure June and then July will be about 9 months. So he could be back at training camp. It's not out of the way, but if you got him back to training camp and he was just a week or 2 off, you'd give him that week or 2 to be full, to be able to get out there and really be in training camp, because you don't want no re-injury in training camp. You don't want that.
Right. I'm gonna leave it off right here. Travis Kelce reportedly signs with CAA for off-the-field representation.
He's got a new agent for next year's contract, and they move agents like you move chess pieces on a board, and this agent is offering less money as a royalty of getting the contract and promising him a lot more money. So he's changed agents, and CCAs represents many 49ers and West Coast team players of different sports, and LeBron James used to use them himself. So they're a big agency, and I'm sure they'll get Kettle what he wants. And he wants that one final payday that would set him off forever, I would imagine.
All right. Well, that's what I got for you tonight, Cowboy.
Well, God bless you, DJX, and God bless each and every one of you for watching this program, and thank you for your support. Send your questions in and your comments so we can answer them on air. I want everybody out there to be good to each other and do something good for another human being. It'll come back twofold. We need kindness in this world. There's enough evil and there's enough hate. So we need to shine some good and some love on this earth as much as we can. Smile instead of cry if you can. And until next time, God bless you. Cowboy out.